Do you see that in many people's eyes?
I do. I see it in a lot of people. I think there's something that God put in all of us, and that's to overcome, to move forward.
Jesus Christ, you can trust him. He'll never fail.
We've seen midgets grow. We've seen arms and legs that stop growing. Mandada basata. I don't make this stuff up.
So are we going to be called away to meet the Lord? But it's not going to be 300 years. We live in right at the coming of Jesus Christ.
You're just a 10-foot-tall crybaby.
I'm crying.
It's not so bad. I mean, no, Christians aren't being killed.
No, not yet.
What the Bible says, Leviticus 20:13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with the woman, they shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. And that, my friend, is the cure for AIDS.
The notion that atheists are somehow the intelligentsia among us and so forth, I think this is just completely false.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Age of Reason podcast. What's up, Alex?
Hey, not much, man. How you doing today?
I just got back from Arizona Diamondbacks versus the San Francisco Giants game, which was pretty crazy because they made a bad call. I think the Diamondback fans are feeling kind of like Raider fans in that Tuck rule all those years ago. So the game ended with a double play, and clearly it was a throw to second and then a throw to first. Clearly the person at first base was out. But the person at second base, I think he was safe, and it was hilarious. You can look at my personal Facebook page. I posted this picture of what disappointment looks like, and I had these Diamondback fans behind me that were just talking shit the entire time about my guy Hunter Pence, who's from the Giants, that's on my fantasy team. And at the end, the umps they take 5 minutes to make this call. They got to go to New York and review footage and all this. And the whole crowd of Diamondback fans just start cheering, and then all of a sudden the players just start walking off the field, and they didn't realize that the game was over because that was the final out of the bottom of the ninth. And so I took this picture of what disappointment looks like, and there's 4 Diamondback fans sitting there that have this oh shit look on their face, but this one kid to the far left of that picture just has his jaw on the floor. It was priceless. So that was my day. How was yours?
Not bad, man. Worked a little bit earlier. Put in a double shift today, actually. Worked early in the morning, worked late at night.
You look like you're about to go do somebody's garden right now.
It's hot as fuck over here, man. I don't know how you're surviving over there in Arizona, but over
96
here,
today.
Oh, Jesus. It's only 85 over here, but it feels like 96.
I work outdoors as well. So I work I work outdoors in this freaking heat.
It sounds like you're the Mexican here.
I don't do gardening, and my car's parked in my driveway because I don't have a lawn. I might park it on my lawn if I had the chance, but anyway. So just let everybody know before Alex and I get into this, we do have an interview today. We're going to be interviewing a friend of ours, Kyle, who is a Bernie Sanders delegate for the state of Nevada. And so we're going to talk to him about his experiences going through the 2 conventions and what he's seen and all that. So if anybody hears any weird laughter in the background, it's him. So anyway, getting into it, so we said we're going to call this community service. Did you have any over the last 2 weeks since we took a week off?
You know what? A little bit. A guy kind of the bathroom thing again, the whole transgender bathroom.
I thought you put this to rest. Was this the same guy you brought up Sharia law to?
No, this is another guy.
Unfortunately, there's an abundant supply of them.
It seems to be the hot topic right now. But, we just talked about it. It was nothing too exciting. It got a lot into wishful thinking, though. He got a lot into saying, well, I just want it to be true. Does that count for anything, basically? And it's no, it still doesn't. It's nice to, I guess to think like that. And like we've said before, I guess if you can create your own situation, what they got going on in the Christian faith for afterlife is not too bad. You know what I mean? But the reality is you can't. And, nobody likes to hear that, but Yeah. So how about you?
Kind of the same thing. I found myself in many conversations that I've had over the last 2 weeks, whether it's regarding religion or Hillary Clinton. The arguments that I got into where the other side was a lot of, well, I believe. I don't fucking care what you believe. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I found myself saying that a lot. Obviously, a bit nicer than I'm saying it right now. And I know a few of these people listen to the show, so I'm just going to say, look, you know what you're getting into when you have these topics with me. When we have these conversations, you know what's going to get brought up on here. So I believe you should feel okay with that. How's that sound? So a lot of them with Hillary Clinton, I had an argument with a few people about this, and it's mainly regarding, why do I hate Hillary Clinton? First off, I don't hate Hillary Clinton. Like you, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, we were totally just ready to support Hillary Clinton this election. But then something happened. This guy, this Larry David lookalike, came out of nowhere, and we love everything.
Stole your heart?
Man, I had my heart taken away by an older man. I feel like... what's her name? She just died a little while ago. Anna Nicole Smith. That's who I feel like. I feel like Anna Nicole Smith, man. I had an old, wrinkly man with a hunchback steal my heart because he's talking about money. That's pretty close to Anna Nicole Smith.
I like that.
But
you tied it nicely.
Yeah, exactly. So the conversations that I had was a lot of, man, Bernie Sanders is probably this, or he's probably that. Bernie Sanders is not for black people. That's why he doesn't have the black vote. And when I had this, 2 different people said this to me. I brought up how Bernie Sanders was arrested for protesting segregated housing before he was a politician. And it was, how do you know that's what he got arrested for? Let me point something out to people, okay? When Bernie Sanders, it would be detrimental to Hillary Clinton if he were to steal the black vote from her, because she has it. There's just no doubt about it. Hillary Clinton has the black vote. And it would be detrimental if Bernie Sanders was able to do that. And a good way to plead your case for black people, other than saying you don't know what it's like to be poor and black, which he already said, is to say, hey, nobody, I believe his direct quote was, I don't think this is something most presidential candidates brag about, but I was arrested in the 60s for protesting segregated housing. And I said, the way you know this is true is when he said that the few times that he said it on that debate stage, Hillary Clinton does not argue with it. And do you think Hillary Clinton would let him get away with that? It's just, it's mind-boggling the amount of faith that is involved in the decisions of a lot of people that are voting that I talk to. It drives me nuts.
I'm just wondering, and typically it doesn't matter, but in this case, were either of the 2 people African American or
one?
Yes. Because I mean, there are a lot of prominent African American supporters for Bernie. I mean, Nina Turner, Killer Mike, Spike Lee,
Cornel West.
Henry Belafonte. I mean, a lot of, like old school people too. So,
well, for some reason they're not getting it. They for some reason don't understand it, and I try to spell out to them. Look, I feel like it's something that people need to know. That's the only reason we're talking about this, because we want to be informative, about all candidates. People seem to think, the people that I was talking to, that the war on drugs is not directed at minorities, mainly black people. And I try to show them the staggering statistics, and I've got into it so many times, but I'll say it again. 2.2 million people locked up, 65% are African American. African Americans make up 13% of our population. Those numbers there's got to be something wrong there. And I've told both these people, I've told them, look, you either have to say that just being black makes you prone to crime, or there's a problem in our justice system. Privatizing prisons, that's a problem. I'm tired, and that's what all this boils down to. is we privatize things that are driven by negative results. High recidivism rates in this country are a negative thing, yet people that invest and own the part of the privatized prison system benefit from negativity, just like doctors benefit from people being sick. And a cure is not profitable for cancer, for AIDS, whatever be the case. It's more profitable to keep you as comfortable as possible on painkillers, or to basically make sure that we don't get a cure for these things. And I'm not trying to say there's some big conspiracy. What I'm trying to say is money motivates more than anything else. But that's not true when it comes to the 98%. What's important to the 98% is your race, your religion, your gender, your sexual orientation, all these things, all these lines that Trump and other people, politicians before him, have drawn in the sand. They're important only to us because we're told they need to be, not because they actually are. The only difference is money. This is a class war, not a war on religion, well, you and I have a war on religion. That's a whole nother topic, but these are the lines that they draw to separate us. And even with black people that I've spoken to, it just doesn't resonate with them. And that just boggles my mind. I can't understand it. Words of wisdom?
I guess. No, I guess it depends. You know, everybody, of course, everybody's experiences are different, and they might not. That particular person might not have had anything that can relate. You know, I don't know. You know, maybe they didn't have a hard life or something like that. So for them, you know, maybe somebody struggling or Bernie caring about the struggle is not as important as to somebody who came from, you know, the hood or whatever and grew up from there. You know, they might see it a little different. I don't know that
you're onto
about.
something, because one common denominator that I have found with the two people I'm talking about now and other people in the past that I've had this conversation with is they're Republicans at heart. They're trickle down econ believers at heart, because they ask, why do I support Bernie Sanders? What's he going to do for me? And you and I have discussed, like, we're not going to benefit a lot from like Bernie Sanders' economic plan. It's not going to help us. Fortunately, you and I make a pretty good living. I mean, it's the rest of the people that are going to benefit from this. And what I have found, and when I say that they're a trickle down econ believer at heart, is that basically they think it's only about hard work, and if you don't have money, it's because you didn't work hard enough.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, you know, are Democratic or on the, you know, on our side, but they're more, I guess they call them the Dixiecrats, or, you know, Reagan Democrats. They're more conservative thinking Democrats. They might not be social issues might not be as big to them, so that might be why they're Democrat. But a lot of people, when it boils down to it, they have that same kind of mentality where, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and it gets old when somebody who's supposed to be kind of on your side is making those same arguments.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, as long as I'm okay, me and my family, then I don't care. And that, you know, you were talking about that chant they had when you were last week, when you were talking about the protest you went to. And this is the time to take a stand. And is it not a valuable is it not a positive thing to care just as much about people that are not part of your family as you do yourself and the people that you know that you care about? To care about the masses and care about, you know, in relation to Bernie specifically, a healthy and educated society, even though, you know, you and I are going on our 30s, unfortunately, and you know, our college years and everything are behind us. We're not going to really benefit from that. So I don't know, but moving on, sticking with Bernie because this can take us into the primaries over the last 2 weeks. I don't know how Bernie's going to recover from his wins. I don't know how he's going to recover from it.
I think he should drop out.
I think he should drop out. He should call it quits. He's won 3 states in a row now. And I was watching CNN. Van Jones, I like this guy. He's during what was before West Virginia? What was?
I think it was the Wyoming, right? It was the caucus, I think.
Yeah, Van Jones on CNN says, "Are we allowed to say that Bernie won?" He actually said that on the air. Are we allowed to say that Bernie Sanders won? This guy's great.
Speaking of that, did you hear Geraldo on the hot mic talking about Bernie?
No, I think Geraldo needs more of a hot Carl than a hot Mike, but
I don't know what that is. I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah, anyway.
But he was on Fox News was covering a Bernie rally or something, and you could hear Geraldo in the background saying, "Oh, here comes the socialist." Look at that guy. I can't stand him.
We were just saying we haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, but then Sean Hannity's like, you're on camera there, Geraldo. Your mic's on.
No, I haven't seen that. That's great.
Oh yeah. So,
I just think it's funny that during that that election, that primary, they didn't cover Bernie Sanders at all. But what I will say, remember that fight strategy I told you that Donald Trump was going to take against Hillary? Remember, he's going to have Mickey in his corner and try to get Hillary riled up. That is exactly the strategy. The strategy I gave for Hillary Clinton and for and for Donald Trump. That is exactly the strategy that they said those two need to take. I just thought that was funny because I said it before they did. But okay, so Bernie Sanders has won, and this week, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, this coming Tuesday. What primaries do we have up? It's like Pennsylvania. New Jersey.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, there's 2 states.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track, but there's 2 more coming up. Luckily, he's swinging through California right now, getting ready for the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So, he had a big one in Sacramento last week. I saw reports of like 25,000 people there and 10,000 people unable to get in.
Yeah.
So that's great, and then I was able to see him the next day over here in the beautiful city of Stockton. But it was pretty cool because he had a kind of this is I'm pretty lucky. This is the 3rd time that I've been able to see him, and he had kind of a tailored message for Stockton. I mean, just because it's in kind of economic depression. Yeah, I guess that's So it was. Kind of tied in with his normal message, but he was able he mentioned Stockton a lot and talked about how the different things affect Stockton, and it was pretty cool. I think there was 7,000 people out there. Me and my wife volunteered, so we got pretty good spots. Some of the volunteers got to go back and meet him, so unfortunately we weren't one of them, but it was cool. The Secret Service was there. This was the first time that I've seen him with the Secret Service there, so that was kind of cool to see how they handle everything, and it's a lot different than when me and you first saw him in L.A.
Yeah, there was nothing there. Well, there was a lot of people. There was, I think, 37,000 people showed up, and they had to bring, I think, TVs outside to broadcast inside because there was like 5,000 or 7,000 people that couldn't show up. But hey, yeah, you're right, man. You and I went to a Bernie Sanders rally really before he took off in the media. And that's all due to you. I remember I was sitting in an airport on my way to Seattle or Denver, one of the two, and you're like, hey, check this guy out. And I watched this speech that he gave about his campaign to like 50 people in some like event lobby at a hotel. And I was just like, oh my God, I love this guy. This is perfect. But anyway, real quick. So today, when I was at the baseball game, I was sitting next to a guy. We started BSing about baseball, and he mentioned that he lived in San Francisco, and him and his wife were over here vacationing, and they're Giants fans, so they came to the game. And I don't remember how we got on the topic, but we were talking about politics, and I found out that he's a Bernie supporter. And so, obviously we start talking, and I said, yeah, my cousin was at the protest that made Trump climb over the wall. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I was there too. I said, oh, shit, you're there protesting? And he's like, no, I'm a cop. And I'm like, whoa, what? And he's like, yeah, look. And he pulled out his phone and he showed me a picture of him in riot gear. I'm not going to give the city, I'm not going to give his name, but he is a police officer in the Bay Area. He's a Bernie supporter. And I'm bringing this up because I told him today that I was going to give him a shout out. So, hey, all nine innings today were a blast, dude. You and your wife are awesome. Stick with the movement. Hopefully you can get your wife to transfer over from Hillary Clinton. Yes, she was a Clinton supporter, but she was really nice. She was wearing a jersey for Hunter Pence, which is my guy on my fantasy team, so she's good. But there are really cool people, and I was blown away when he told me he was a police officer. I'm like, oh shit, really?
Did he have anything to say about the protest?
Very, very little. But I did remember when you were telling the story last week, and I said, I have a question. Did you look at any of those officers and just see an expression on their face that is just saying, hey, I'm just doing my job? I asked him that question, and he said that was his stance. And we got into law enforcement a little bit, barely mentioning, not really even mentioning the police brutality issues that are going on. I just happened to say, we need more law enforcement like that. And he completely agreed. I think we both knew what we were talking about, but I wasn't going to take that there with him. I just met the guy. So I bought him a beer. He returned the favor later on, and, we had a blast. But I was thrown, I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, it's a small world. But that was a pretty huge coincidence. I happened to sit next to this guy, and he was a police officer at the rally or at the protest that you were at.
Yeah, that is a trip. Speaking of which, this kind of reminds me of a story. My mom, she's going back to college, and she had some extra credit assignment to go to a city. It was like a city protection thing. The sheriff was there and a couple other people, I guess. And the sheriff was, talking about how he's beefing up security and stuff like this. And my mom, she raised her hand and asked him, a lot of police units are being criticized right now for their heavy artillery and, stuff like that. And the guy interrupted her and says, Bernie Sanders is not going to tell me what to do.
Oh, jeez.
So it was pretty funny. She didn't mention Bernie or, she wasn't wearing anything Bernie or anything, but it was, a little different story than, what you said. And just a quick message. There are tons of really, the majority of police officers
yes.
are definitely, I'm sure like that guy. And I give him credit because that's a, dangerous job that probably doesn't pay him as much as they should. So I give him credit. When we talk about, the negative things, of course, it's the small minority.
We understand
just like with everything else. So.
Well, just like with Muslims, and that's who we've compared Muslims to is law enforcement. We understand that there's 1.5 billion Muslims. I know there's not that many police officers, but I think in comparison, the more than just the majority of Muslims are peaceful, just like the majority of law enforcement officers are really doing what they believe is a positive impact, and that's why they're doing the job. It's these small sects that need to be snuffed out, and we need the help of of law enforcement and Islamic people to police themselves and help us out, because the longer this stuff keeps on going on, the worse their perception is going to be. And in regards to him getting paid enough, I don't know. I didn't ask him, but I could say that he was vacationing in Arizona, and I would hope he would want to go somewhere else other than this piece of shit state. I hate Arizona.
I was wondering who the fuck goes from San Francisco to Arizona.
I think he's a diehard Giants fan, and so he, obviously just, worked a road trip vacation around a game. I'm sure that's what he did, but
yeah, I'm sure living in the city you'd want to escape to for a while, but it's just
escape to
San
here.
Francisco. Well, yeah, that's what I was.
And he wasn't white.
Wondering.
He's the wrong color to be here. Doesn't he know that he can be his green card can be asked for at any time? And here's the thing, going back to what that guy said to your mom, and I'm inspired, as I've been my entire life, by your mom, is, her going back to school is, it's an inspiration that, she's at the age that she is and has made the decision to do that, and she has stuck with it. And I read every one of her Facebook posts about the test she takes and all that. It's fantastic. But in regards to what happened, if he doesn't want to listen to what Bernie Sanders has to say, why doesn't he listen to any other country that militarizes their police and has images like we have here? Because I don't think you're going to find too many of them in other developed countries that we are supposed to be competing with. That's the problem.
And speaking of sheriffs too, your sheriff just got found in contempt of court. Is that? Yeah. Did you see that?
I heard about it. I have not read. I heard he got held in contempt of court for basically withholding evidence, right?
For failing to stop racial profiling.
Man, that cop really did pick the wrong state to vacation to. Yeah, he's an asshole. I don't know what else to say about him. I hate that, I live in his county. I have not had to deal with his people for the most part. I can say that the law enforcement officers that I do deal with here are fine. We have very different views on gun control, but I mean, they're nice people. But yeah, that just takes, and the cop was not white. So it's just, I don't know how they get around it. I really don't. And the person that threw out the first pitch today was a mayor from a city in Mexico, which I just thought was weird. I was surprised the crowd applauded her because they just had they just had a Klan rally last night. I don't know why they're applauding Mexicans. We're supposed to be throwing out 11 million of them and building a fucking wall. I don't know why they get to throw out the first pitch.
The hoods are off. They got to clap. They got to clap. Had it been the day before, it wouldn't have been cheers you'd be hearing.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the other thing. So this is the second baseball game I've been to here. I went to a Cubs game about a month ago, and then this one. And in the seventh inning, they sing "God Bless America," and it's got to go. It's gotta fucking go. We have to quit doing this shit. I stand up and take my hat off for the Pledge of Allegiance, for the national anthem every time. But God Bless America. When my wife was with me at the first game I went, we just sat there, and everybody else was standing up. I didn't really see anybody giving us dirty looks, but that's another problem with Arizona. I mean, I think the city of Phoenix is known for having the most of two things given its size, and one is golf courses, and the other is churches. There's a lot of Mormons over here because the United States is so important that God put tablets here.
Today when I went to see, my kids got home, and I guess the Mormons were on the bicycles next door.
Ooh, you got door knockers.
No, they're part of the church next door, so they come over to hang out, I guess. But my Alex goes, "Hey, Daddy, the guys with the magic underwear are next door."
That's awesome. Oh, that's great. The guys with the magic underwear.
My daughter's like, "Turn off the lights, lock the doors." She's like, "I don't want them to come over here."
You see, that's what my wife did. Actually, when Kyle was staying the night at my house, I remember saying on an episode that Kyle and I, we were staying up playing video games all night, and door knockers came over that morning when him and I were sleeping, and instead of waking me up out of a dead sleep like a decent woman, she said, "No, we're not interested," and they haven't been back since. And I pray every day they come back to my door. Obviously, God is not real because I'm not getting to rip their shit in half because they haven't come back.
Every time, there's been like 2 times here, but every time it's been like a 50, 60-year-old lady. I just can't. You know, I'm not,
You're not gonna unload on them.
Let me tell you something.
Look here, Gertrude and Mildred. Just like Mike said on the podcast last week, you got one foot in the grave. Hurry up and die, Grandma. That's what our boy Victor put. He commented on that episode. He said, "Man, there's a lot to take away from this episode, but hurry up and die, Grandma, is what's sticking with me." Hey, again, I don't apologize for it. It's still true. Anyway, transferring back into politics. So Ted Cruz dropped out. So did John Kasich. So Trump is the presumptive nominee, and the apocalypse is closer than we thought it was, and closer than you and I thought it was going to be last year. And he just had a meeting with Paul Ryan a few days ago, and he's not fully letting him go inside yet, but he's warming him up.
They're cuddling.
They're snuggling right now. So what?
But I think, you know, there is a lot of talks about a third party on the conservative side.
Is it the central? Or wait, is it the one that Ted Cruz was talking about?
Yeah. There's, some serious candidates talking. Mitt Romney. When I say serious, they're still laughable. But compared to Donald Trump, I guess any Republican candidate would be serious. But they're trying to get an actual. They're saying an actual conservative party up there.
It's not the Ted Cruz's was the Conservative Christian Liberty Party. It's not that.
No, I don't think so. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that sounds like a good name for those fucks. But
I think it's great because we were talking last week about how Ted Cruz, Rafael Cruz, his dad, said that he was anointed by God, and I can't believe how wrong God is all the time. I thought he had this one in the bag, or at least Ted Cruz thought he did.
Well, every single candidate that said God told him to run is out of the race. So,
but two Corinthians are in there because 2 Corinthians is better than 1 Corinthii. So yeah, Trump is on his way. And he's encouraging Bernie Sanders to run independent and welcomes his followers to jump ship onto his train. And this is why I said Bernie or bust is dangerous. Donald Trump knows that if Bernie runs third party, or not if he really runs third party, but if the Bernie or busters get their way and Sanders doesn't run third party officially, he knows it's going to play into his hand.
Well, I think in the long run, I think if you're a Democratic superdelegate, you have to consider these things when you're making your decision. You know, because all the polls consistently, and this has been since the beginning, they've showed Bernie doing much better against Trump than Hillary.
Right.
And even in conservative states, he still wins. So when you add that, the momentum that Bernie has, the money that Bernie's had, and the way he's been able to bring it in, to me, it's going to be hard to just go with Hillary because you said so a year ago. I think a lot of people are going to have to take a deep look inside and decide whether they truly want what's best for the party and the country, or if they want what's best for their own interest and keep with the status quo pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And so switching gears here, because unless you got anything else, I think that's pretty much it for politics this week for the most part.
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay, so I did a video, and which I'm thinking of actually doing this video blog thing since the first one seemed to go so well, got a lot of positive comments on it. I think I'm going to try another one. But a few weeks ago, I did a video on our YouTube channel responding to that Alexis Bloomer whoever the hell she is, who basically apologized on behalf of all millennials to anybody really over the age of 45. Well, millennials just kind of took a hit. So last week in Columbus, Ohio, two girls went, I think they went out to a bar with some guy, and then they went back to their place. They met in a bar, and then went back to one of their places. And she recorded this guy raping her friend and put it on Periscope. For those of you who don't know what Periscope is, it's YouTube Live. It's live streaming. And so instead of calling 911, and she was not an accomplice. She was not, an accomplice to the rapist. She just thought that periscoping what was going on was more important than dialing 911. So she periscoped this, and yeah, so millennials took a little bit of a hit. What I have to say about this is any generation that gets introduced to this type of technology would face the same fate.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's necessarily.
I didn't say all millennials aren't stupid. I never said that.
Yeah, but no, that's just stupid people, and I mean obviously the education system is all messed up, right? And that just shows. I mean whether it's obviously horrible parenting, but you can't say millennials take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about Saudi Arabia's video on how to properly beat your wife.
Yes. So Saudi Arabia has a video that they released, which is it's all set in like a tranquil environment. Like there's this guy just sitting out in the woods on a stump with like a river, and it's all peaceful. And he's talking about how to beat your wife. And to his defense, he says you don't want to beat her with something like a cane. You just want to use something that's handheld, but not as big as a cane. And one quote that I'll pull from this is, he said, "It's unfortunate when women think that they have just as much say as a man. And this is all about making your wife obedient." Go ahead, Alex. I know you got something to say over this.
I rest my case. I mean,
what else are we gonna say, right?
I beat the camel dead on this one.
That's funny. Okay, well, fine. Switching gears, Antelope Valley School District in Lancaster, California, refused to advertise atheist-driven scholarships. And this is mainly being backed up by Colorado Republican Gordon Klingerschmidt, who says that atheist scholarships are unconstitutional, but religious ones are fine. Why is that? Well, it's okay to pledge your faith for scholarships, but not to force somebody to denounce it. That's bribery. And it's all fine anyway, because most public school goers are Christian.
Wait, right? So we all know of athletes that go to the private Christian schools, not because they're great students, because they're the best athletes, and the Christian schools have the best football teams in town. So that's not bribery. I mean, I'm sure not all these kids are Methodist or whatever whatever.
I don't even know why you're taking this angle. Listen to what he said. Telling somebody to pledge faith to God for a scholarship is fine, but telling someone to denounce it is bribery.
No, I know.
That's
But you could still. I'm just saying. I guess I'm reverse engineering, taking away the bribery part. It's bribery. For the BYU, Brigham Young University, to offer a scholarship to someone that's not Mormon, because they're a good football player, and and say you have to go to Mormon church and attend the tabernacle or whatever.
Right.
It's the same thing. All I'm saying is not. It happens on the high school level too.
Right.
Not all the kids that come, they're bribed, come to my Christian school and you'll get this free scholarship. That's just a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. So, and we got to hurry up and get to how much time do we got left? About 20?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, lastly, real quick, I'm just going to read this. So the government right now is threatening to investigate Facebook algorithms because they think that their top story advertisements are slanted in favor of the left. This seems to me like it's Apple all over again. We don't have time to discuss this, but I'm going to throw it out now. Maybe it'll be a topic for next week. And just a quick update on the restroom controversy that's going on, mainly led by North Carolina. North Carolina is currently suing the Department of Justice for overreaching, and the DOJ is launching in contrast to that, a civil rights suit counter. North Carolina could lose $2 billion in school funding, and they are ranked currently 47th in teacher pay, 47th for each state. And Obama basically issued an order yesterday saying that basically everybody needs to get in line, which, again, another reason why I'm loving Obama.
Did you see the lady take her family into Target and yell about the abomination?
I did not.
I'll have to send it to you. We'll have to put it on the page. It's pretty funny. She's going into Target, yelling how it's an abomination, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I have 12 children. Listen, lady, you're the fucking abomination, okay? Close your fucking legs and stop spreading your bullshit.
The abominations between your legs, lady. Speaking of ejaculation, Kyle, welcome to the show, and I'm going to tell you why I said speaking of ejaculation. You and I were talking about a week ago, and you follow... Hold on. We were talking about a week ago.
This is a surprise session for me.
It was. You may
the
call.
Show's taking an interesting turn.
You may call it premature.
Oh God.
So anyway, Kyle, you told me you follow ejaculation is murder pages because it's hilarious. Masturbation is murder. Okay, well, just to throw this topic out here, Kyle, I'll bring you in one topic early. Ejaculation is murder, says Rachel Statt, who is a lead activist that basically souls are a human being is no longer just present at conception. A human being is now present in the sacus. So therefore, spewing your seed into a tissue paper is just as bad as abortion. So they have 85,000 signatures so far on change.org. They only need 100,000 for the White House to address it. 38 White House conservatives said they would support it. All 38 of them are women. I'm going to say this right now. Part of this makes me happy because I like that men are going to start getting a taste of anti-Roe vs. Wade bullshit. I'm hoping this leads to a point to where finally the men that are leading the anti-abortion shit will finally say, all right, hands off my testes. Everybody's like, that's it. We're done. I'm hoping it gets to that point. What do you guys think?
So let me just get this straight. You're hoping that the men finally get a taste of ejaculation.
Could you imagine? Okay. Oh man, yeah, it tastes like salted peanuts. No, what I'm saying is, Alex, remember at your protest you had the Free the Nipple people?
Yeah, yes.
Imagine what men protesting this would look like. Imagine the seeds that will be spread and sprouted from this shit. I think it'll be hilarious.
The seeds that happen when you have a bunch of men naked saying free the testes.
It's just hilarious. Imagine what they could do. So
I prefer free the nipple between
I prefer free the nipple too. I'm not pro ingesting semen for myself. But what I'm look. Hashtag I'm all for. Never mind. That's gonna get too nasty. I'm just saying. Could you imagine the protesting that would go on? Like if Hillary Clinton started supporting this, instead of throwing dollar bills at her caravan, they can start throwing tied up used condoms like semen-filled water balloons. It would be magic. Anyway, all right. Let's finish up this topic so we can get to the interview. Alex, what's your final thought on this? And we'll go to Kyle.
Oh man, I forgot what we were talking about. No, I you know, the Catholic Church has for a long time preached that even taking it one step further, the Catholic Church, on a serious note, they say that contraception equals murder. So that's the teaching of one of the major religions in the world. I mean, most Catholics don't follow that, but if you were to ask the Pope, that's what they would say.
Right.
That's the garbage that they, teach in their churches. So it is a very, serious thing. But keep your hands off my cock, I guess.
Yeah, GOP, don't grab on my penis. Kyle, what do you think about ejaculation being equivalent to abortion?
I think it's all garbage. It's a big mess.
Is it really?
Clean up with a towel.
I think semen-filled water balloons is great. So, all right, moving on to the interview. And since we took last week off, we can go a little bit over if we have to. So, Kyle, a bit of an introduction. You are, correct me if I'm wrong, a Nevada state delegate or district delegate, one of the two, for Bernie Sanders, correct?
Okay, yes, state delegate. Basically, I am an elected, not official, but elected person by population. So the way it works is, let me start off by saying that the Democratic Party, the DNC, is not a government thing. It is a private organization. Mm-hmm. The DNC, the RNC, every party is a private organization that functions as a party, a club, if you will.
I will.
So none of this is government until you start getting into the actual, until you start being elected as a position in the government, in the state. So let me see. I have a bunch of notes here I've been taking. I'm a delegate because I went to the caucus. I went to the caucus to stand in a room and vote. My head was counted. Everyone's head was counted. And I think there was 60 people in my caucus, in my precinct. And that allotted us 6 delegates. So it just divides up. Think of a giant pyramid, like the food pyramid from, elementary school. At the very bottom, you have the caucus. And you have all these people, all these voters that go in and vote. And then from there, you go to the next tier up, and you have these delegates, just county delegates that were voted by population. And you have delegates, and you have alternates. Alternates are backup delegates if not enough delegates show up.
Right.
If that makes sense. Okay, so they're like backups. And so you go to the county convention. I went to the county convention of Clark County, Nevada. And we all stand in a room, and the whole time you're there and your vote counted towards Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton just by showing up. By registering and showing up, you're counted. Physically counted.
Right.
And then you vote on a bunch of stuff for the party. So for the county, it was all for Clark County stuff. People that work on the state assembly and local assembly person, the mayor for Las Vegas and all the cities that, contain the county. And you vote on things on a giant legislation that is made up by the local party.
Right.
So these people that are in the county write up this thing, and they only meet for 100 days out of the year. So these aren't full-time elected officials. They're part-time. They come and they meet every, quarter or whatever it is for a few days out of the year or the month. And they vote on things. They write up proposals, and then they bring it to the party convention where all of us delegates and anyone who is attending can vote on by voice.
Right.
So the county chair will say, hey, for proposal this, which, says this, and they'll have, reading material up on the big screen for everyone to read. All in favor for this to pass, for this entire proposal to pass, say aye. The crowd says aye. For it to be changed, say no. And so the crowd will say no, and whoever's loudest wins.
Sounds scientific.
Right. It sounds, like elementary school is what it sounds like. Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you don't. except it's shouting. So the loudest person wins, which I disagree on because there's a lot of people that are voters or delegates that go to these conventions who have oxygen tanks or are mute.
I was just
or,
going to say, if we ran Bernie versus Hillary like this, Bernie would win because you'd have all for Hillary say aye.
Yeah. So like it's I brought that to a bunch of people's attentions while I was at these two conventions, the county and the state. And so from the county convention, you vote for state delegates. You put your name, and you can go up and give a speech, but it doesn't really matter because there's so many people. There's so many delegates that get awarded to the state convention. I didn't even know I was in the running. I knew I put my name on the hat. I said yes to all the state conventions, and then I get an email saying, hey, you're on the list. Okay, cool. Make sure you show up. Sure. So I showed up. Got to the state convention, and it's the same process, but for statewide. So you have Washoe County and Nye County and rural county of Nevada all in this giant convention hall. And Clark County, which I'm in, all in this giant convention hall here in Las Vegas at the Paris, which is a private location. So the DNC, a private organization, chooses a private location to host our convention for a government-type ordeal, which isn't government, so there's no legal binding to it. It's all private parties, so they can do and say whatever they want just so we can nominate someone who is going to run for president. So all this is all private. There's no government rules. There's no federal rules. It's all for the party. The party makes all the rules. So the chairperson and the chair party for the DNC makes these rules that every state has to follow for the party.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. So now that you've explained the process, what do you think of the process?
Oh my gosh, what do I think of the process? It sounds so simple on paper after I wrote it down here on my notes, but when you're actually there participating, it is the most brutal thing, and you can see that the DNC, the chairperson, and all the people up on stage, the officials of this party, play on the patience and the fortitude of the party goers. So you have older people that can't sit around and wait around all day. I was there for 12 hours yesterday for this convention, and I showed up late. I showed up at 11 and didn't leave until 11. People were there from 6 a.m. that didn't leave until 11. And not everyone has the fortitude or the ability to do that. I mean, they provided food, and there was beverages and snacks and stuff like that was all provided for free. At least on the Bernie side, we had about 6 dozen pizzas that people were gnawing on.
And that's what $27 a donation will get you.
Yeah.
No, actually, those are private.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
no, check it out though.
Private people were donating them, so I think that's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, it was people pitching in money. And what I called it, I walked into the room to get a pizza, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, socialist pizza." And, yeah, I said it. I initialized this term, and later on, I heard people walking out. Hey, did you guys get a chance to get some of the socialist pizza? And I was like, "Yes, it's stuck. That is so awesome." That's besides the point.
that was another impact for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it made me feel like whatever. It made me feel happy. But so a lot of this time that I was at the convention is waiting around and listening to people speak. People, it has nothing to do with Hillary or Bernie. People running for the Congress position. There's, for each district, the Nevada and all states are divided into districts. I happen to live in Congressional District 4, and so my person is the person I'm choosing to vote for is Lucy Flores. She's running. And so she goes up on stage, she gives a little speech about her past, her present, what she's working on, how she got into politics, blah, 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 blah. Everyone has a chance to go up. Anyone who's running for any position, the state assembly, state congress, state anything that has to do with Nevada and an official position on the board of whatevers, right? All of us get to vote on it, not by yays or nays, but actually by turning in a ballot.
Sure.
So yesterday we have this card, like when you become a delegate, you get your credentials, this placard that you wear around on your lanyard, and there's 8 things on the back of it, 8 little boxes. and each one has a little, executive board, state central committee, the district, the PLEO, which I have no idea what it stands for, and the at-large delegates. I'll get to those in a second. And so you have this schedule, this agenda for the day from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m., which we were supposed to be out of there at 10. And every hour there's some event that's supposed to happen, something you're supposed to vote on. But because it's so unorganized and because nobody knows the process, it's a lot of waiting around. And everyone's waiting for something to happen. I ended up having a group of people that I found. One guy had a guitar, so we were sitting in the lobby playing guitar, singing songs, and all that. And we even got a deck of cards and started playing cards.
So,
a lot of waiting around.
Overall, this thing sounds extremely frustrating, right? Because you've kind of been
Absolutely.
like my man on the street. You've been calling me throughout the 2 conventions you went to. You had just gotten off work, and you went there at what?
Yes.
You said you arrived there at 3 yesterday, and when I talked to you, it was about 9:45, and you said 9:45 p.m., and you said, there was no end in sight. So what time did you actually get out of there last night?
We were forced to leave by the private-owned Paris casino security. Head of security showed up after I posted a video on my Facebook of the head chair lady. I forget her name now. But she proposed a motion to end the thing, to say that our agenda is over, everything we did was accomplished, everything's concluded. She made the proposal, said, all in favor say yay, and everyone was like, what? No. Everyone's like shouting, no. And then she said, all opposed say no, and she said, okay, the motion passes, and she did this all within like 5 seconds. So she said, all in favor, yay, all opposed, no, the motion passes, I adjourn this meeting, concluded, bam, she slams her little hammer thing down,
Gavel.
whatever you call it, the gavel, she slams it down and storms off the stage in just a panic, a fright, or anger, frustration. So she walks off, and then the head of security comes up and says, okay, guys, it's over. Have a good night. Drive safely. And people were, I wouldn't want to say riot because that's a very extreme, but we were on the verge of rioting. People were shouting. People were throwing things. Chairs were thrown. If Brian Fry would have been there, nuggets would have been thrown. That's an inside joke. But it was just, people were so angry, and the head of security goes, okay, so it's over. This is a private property. Please leave or you'll be trespassed. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess we better leave now.
Wow.
So yeah, she just forced an ending to something that wasn't over. And so we were all hoping, I only got, out of those 8 things that I needed to vote for, I only have 2 of them that were marked that said I voted for something.
Well, so this is privatized democracy.
Yeah. Privatized democracy.
Well, let's get into the other important thing we got to get into. So, you told me last night that you witnessed my wife. When I post this episode in the description, the hashtag, and this is for my wife or from my wife, she said caucus blocked. So, how was Bernie Sanders caucus blocked last night?
Okay, so in our emails, in our letter for all the delegates and alternates, and for all that to show up for the convention, the state convention, it says be here in line by 10 a.m. I showed up the night before, which a lot of people did, and got my credentials and all that for the next morning. I pre-registered the night before, so that way I could just walk in. I had my credentials, bam, walk right in. Not everyone had that opportunity. People have jobs, people have children. Life gets in the way of democracy. Sorry to say, but it does. And so not everyone was able to pre-register. The people that couldn't pre-register had the opportunity to register that morning by showing up before 10 a.m. There's a guy who has a guitar sitting. He doesn't have his credentials around his neck like I do, and everyone else does. And so I was like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, oh, just waiting in line. We got locked out. We can't go in. What? What do you mean you can't go in? And so he proceeds to tell me that he doesn't know why he was here on time before 10 o'clock a.m. He got into a line. He was then told by someone, he doesn't know if it's Bernie or Hillary, was told that this is the wrong line and he needs to get into this line to get his credentials and to pre-register or register to get in. So he gets into that line. And while all this is happening, while he's confused trying to figure out which line to go into and to get his credentials so he can be an elected delegate, as am I, we're on the same level of whatever. He's waiting in line. This is at 9:30, 9:40, whatever that morning. Inside, the people that were already inside that had showed up at 6, 7, 8, and 9, who already had their credentials from the night before, loads of people, they decided to pass a motion. The DNC leader stands up and says, a motion has been offered to me to say that, or a proposal to say that to change the entry time from 10 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. All in favor say yay, yay. All in favor say, or all opposed say no, no. Yays have it. So they changed the allowance time to enter from 10 to 9:30. Meanwhile, this guy is in line. This guy and 90 other people, including some Hillary supporters.
What would
were in line waiting to get in.
Yeah, okay. So what would you say was the count of Bernie and Hillary supporters in that line, and how do you have this? How did you come up with this number? Did you count everybody?
I did not physically count everybody. When I showed up, it was 11:30, a little after 11, when I actually got to the Paris and I met this guy. It was about noon when I met him, and the people that were in line, there's probably about 70, 80 people in this line. It wasn't even like a line standing. They were all sitting on the ground because they had been there for so long. And all these people are sitting on the ground, and there's about 90, 100 people. I would say 90% of them were Bernie supporters, and I know this because they were wearing Bernie t-shirts, they had Bernie stickers, a Bernie hat. There's Bernie flair. And there's about, maybe 8%, 10% Hillary because they were wearing Hillary buttons or Hillary stickers or stuff like that. Everyone had flair to show the representation. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, this is messed up. I was like, good luck. And he's like, yeah, we got the DNC lawyers, or Bernie lawyers, people from the Bernie campaign who are lawyers, are talking to the DNC to figure out what's happening. And then they, conclude that there was a motion passed and the time had changed from 10 to 9:30, blah, blah, blah. So he basically just got a guest pass. He's not allowed to vote on anything, but he can participate in voting for, the vocal thing. He can raise his voice to vote for certain things that way.
So at the end of the day, would it be safe to say that if there are 100 people out there, 70% were wearing Bernie stickers?
Yes.
Shirt?
Yes.
So that would mean that if it was 100, then you're saying it's about 90-ish. So between 90 and 100, that Bernie
should have been counted. Yeah, they should have been counted as delegates.
So should have been counted as delegates. So Bernie should have got anywhere between 60 and 80 more votes. Yes or no?
Correct.
And how many votes did Bernie lose by?
He lost by 33 delegates.
All right. Well,
so the total number, I don't know the exact delegate count that was officially announced. It was somewhere between 1690 for Hillary and 1660 for Bernie. But there was some ones, and maybe it was off by 10 or so, give or take 10 delegates. But it was off by 33. I remember that number because that was what everyone was talking about. Was 33 delegates were the difference between the two.
And there were at least somewhere around 70 delegates outside.
At least, yeah.
All right.
And they were outside. Or they were allowed to enter as guests, but they weren't counted towards the delegate count because they didn't show up on time, in air quotes.
Well, they showed up on time, but it was changed at a moment's
exactly.
notice. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, hey, there you go. Privatizing democracy. Well, Kyle, thank you not only for coming on this show, but you and I are really good friends. We always talk about this stuff anyway. But thank you for trying to do your part in this privatized democratic system.
Oh yeah. Not a problem, man. I mean, it's a pleasure and a curse.
I'm sure. Well, with that, we are, I'm sure, over time, so we do have to conclude. But Kyle, we'll probably have you. We'll probably have you back on here. As things progress, probably after the nomination is done and all that, just to kind of wrap this stuff up. But thank you for being, our AOR's first official man on the street guy, dude. It's awesome that Alex and I, we know people that are in certain places, and we're happy that you're as involved as you are. So with that, we got to go ahead and conclude. So follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, the Age of Reason podcast page on Facebook, and for everything else, AORpodcast.com. Alex, take care, man. I know you got. I know we have another election coming up tomorrow and all that. We're going to be over on Topics again next week. So I look forward to discussing that with you. But for everybody else, take care, and we'll see you next time.